Good evening. Um, it's Beth Sarver again. It's September 27th, and it's been a long day. And most of it was spent in the resilience room at the Academy for Integrated Arts in Kansas City, Missouri. And tonight, I just want to share a little reflection about this vision that I have for this place, this state of being that I call the resilience room. And I think one of the things that I've noticed throughout the course of my career, and I've spent a lot of time working with difficult people. I've worked in juvenile detention centers, foster care group homes. I've worked with children and adults with developmental disabilities of all kinds. Behavior is either bad or good. This like dualistic look at behavior that we've just come to believe and to know, that's bad and that's good. And I want to be good, not bad. And when I am bad, that means I am bad. And so I think it's important that we rethink these paradigms that we've been, handed down. Good and bad is not only a gross oversimplification of the human experience and a natural phenomenon that happens, but adults have been for centuries, likely since the beginning of time, been modeling some mixed messages in the way of behavior for children. And then there's just the normal, developmentally typical behavior of children and adolescents and adults who just, have kind of an ebb and flow of life. And so my goal in developing this concept of the resilience room is to really think about creating a little bit more spaciousness, a little bit more room. I also like to call the resilience room breathing room, because I feel like a lot of the behavior that is most concerning and most challenging, whether it relates to trauma or toxic stress or a mystery, that the behaviors of concern that are disrupting or sabotaging our lessons or our family dinners or our conversations really are never improved by making the person feel really bad about themselves and really bad about the behavior. Now, certainly there are some times where, shame explodes out of us and we shame children or we shame each other for bad behavior. And sometimes that's just the natural response. But often when we respond to difficult behaviors by shaming them, we just make them bigger. And what I've found is that whether we make them bigger or we silence them, there's really no learning that's happening. And brain research would have a much more nuanced explanation than that. But tonight I just want to share a couple stories about something I learned today. And it's, again, one of my greatest teachers, student. I was called to join in with a student. And so I left the resilience room and went into a classroom. And as soon as the student saw me walk in, she knew that she was in trouble. And her behavior escalated and her upset grew. And I, did a number of my things. I brought my eye level below her eye level. I pulled out my love tuner. None of it. She was screaming and weeping. And I knew that I was coming to take her away, to remove her. And she felt that, and she felt like she was bad. And anyway, I'm blessed to work with wonderful colleagues who, another colleague who joined in with us and who had already built a rapport with this student. And within a minute and a half, 2 minutes, this young lady was walking right up to me with this colleague of mine, and with a smile on her face, gentle smile, no more tears, ready to meet me and to get to know who I am and to hear from me. And so when she came into the resilience room and was in connection with another person, a human being who met her where she was at, and she had also had a previous connection with, she was able to receive the help that she needed, because she was having really big feelings, and her feelings were causing a big disruption in the classroom. And later, after she had done some drawing and kind of gotten herself settled, I was able to talk with her and meet with her and do some really wonderful work, bonding with her, because I know that I will join in with this young lady again, but also debriefing the situation and getting a little bit more clear information from her about her perspective. And absolutely, as soon as she saw me walk in the room, she knew she was in trouble. And she knew it not because anybody told her, but because her experience is that when you're yelling and crying and saying hurtful things about yourself or another, that you're in trouble. Like, that's not okay. And the knowing that she was in trouble made the problem so much bigger. And in talking with her about it, trying to convince her that I was, I want her, when she sees me coming, to know that I'm here to help. And to see that shift in her perspective and her embracing this idea that the behavior is not her, that she's not trouble, that when I come to her and she's having a hard time, I'm not looking at her as a problem or a bad girl, and asking for help isn't trouble, and that we can actually figure out, like, what was the upset, so that next time it happens, and maybe it's even predictable, we can ask for help before it gets to what it did. Because what we know is that our body gives us clues when we're stressed, when we're overwhelmed, and we can actually teach kids to pay attention to the sensations in their bodies, to the thoughts in their mind, to the images that come to mind, to the feelings that flood through them, and the sensations that just take over, that we can begin to predict them, that we can begin to have a plan for them. And so a part of really de-stigmatizing behavior is just anticipating that it's a part of life and it's a part of who we are. When I think about, politics and the adult world, I think, gosh, who are we kidding? We expect a higher level of self-regulatory behavior out of children than we do out of adults. And so, it's really time for an honest conversation, I believe, about behavior, about what we want, about what we don't want, and how we actually educate and empower young people to be better equipped to self-regulate. And so one of the strategies that I've developed with the Kansas City Public School System and the Office of Student Intervention while I was at Truman working on the Trauma Sensitive Schools Initiative was kind of a super powered safety plan that we decided would be called the Power Plan. And in that work, I developed a bunch of stickers, and kids love stickers, and so do adults too. But basically, they are a series of lessons that are kind of summed up in a sticker. The sticker serves as a reminder and kind of marks like strategies to use throughout the process of reflecting or debriefing or planning for a better possibility, a better solution with students. And so I'm going to actually share these with the group because these are kind of a public domain already. But they're just a whole variety of strategies, really starting with this first one. Oh, wait, over here. This first one, just the ability to notice your experience, to be able to say, oh my gosh, my heart is racing. I'm uncomfortable. I'm angry. I'm embarrassed. I'm jealous. I'm not ready for this test. And I know that I'm not going to do well. And I'm heartsick about it, or whatever it is. But to be able to just notice that you're stressed and to do, some really simple body awareness and breathing techniques that can help you to really just take control of what's happening in your body, to where what's possible is that we can look at our behavior before it ever happens, because we have developed a relationship with ourselves, with the sensations, the images, feelings, and thoughts that come. And that's the SIFT protocol that is a part of the whole brain child, which I mentioned last night. So I do sifting. I sift experience with my students. And when kids really get that explicit and they think, oh, what did that feel like? What was that sensation? And what images were in my mind? Oh, the whole time you were walking towards me, I knew that you were going to call my mom, and I knew I was going to get in trouble, and I knew that I was going to, not get to do this thing. So within a split second of me walking in the door, all of these images of the ramifications of my behavior were flooding through my mind. So if we want to change behavior, we have to destigmatize it. We have to look at it as data, as information, as behavior patterns, and then really get calm and curious about it. Like, I wonder why that happened, and really try to look at it from a perspective of a scientist and say, wow, this happened just like this another time, and this behavior that comes out of me is predictable. What's amazing is when we teach kids about their brain and we give them space to be human and to have behavior that is difficult, and we get calm and curious with them about it, and we give them some simple tools, stickers, space and time, without shame and guilt and anger, to think it through, to process it, and to really unpack it. The bad behavior that we used to think about is actually, in many ways, just showing us a skill that is yet to be learned. And so in that way, it could be a great gift, because I'll tell you, the most I've learned from any child is my own little boy. And he's taught me so much about brain-based de-escalation, but also how we affect each other. And that my stress is contagious, and it ripples out away from me. And if I want more love and affection and connection and friendship, then I can notice that and I can create more of it. And I'm rambling, and I'm going to end here shortly because it's been a long day, and tomorrow's going to be another long day. And I really believe that resilience education is essential for all human beings. And it really starts with understanding what's happening within us, and really doing our best to take out all the extras and the shame and the guilt and the anger trips and the power trips, are just more stuff to process. And sometimes they happen, and it's good to process because not everybody is going to be trauma informed, and it's important to know how to handle like when people are shaming you. But I think if we take small steps towards empowering children to develop their ability to think things through and to plan for difficult behavior and difficult experiences that kind of provoke upsetting responses, that not only will they have tangible tools, but they'll have like a sense that they can take care of themselves. And one of my favorite quotes from my teacher in the Mindful Schools program, Chris, and he said this many times throughout our training together: short moments of awareness repeated many times become automatic and continuous. And so when I think about that in relationship to behavior modification, when I think about if we can just draw a child's awareness to the pattern, to how things went down, such that they are able to, over time, really anticipate and see not just what happened in the moment that just preceded or that happened in the past, but that I know this thing so well that I can predict that this behavior could become automatic and continuous unless I change it. And it's through mindfulness and through kind of understanding the breath and how it works and how it helps to regulate your nervous system that awareness moves beyond like, oh, I know that happened, to I'm able to write a different story about what's going to happen and how I'm going to show up in the world and how I'm going to accept help. And so by the time I ended my time with this young lady who I had joined in with, and it didn't go well, she was asking me if we could just have lunch together every day. So I think that the connection is absolutely essential to doing the deep work of destigmatizing behavior. We have to be present, and we have to be able to be calm and curious and kind as we help young people to really think it through and to discover that there are better choices and there's a better way to take care of ourselves so that we don't hurt ourselves or anyone else. Because ultimately we're all seeking connection, and we all have bad behavior, and we all do things that we regret. And if we could just really develop a pattern of reflection on that, I think our world would be a much better place. Because shame and punitive based methods really just give us another problem to solve and another trigger to process and another upset to come down from. So with that, I hope again that there was some nugget of truth or inspiration for you. I really take a lot of inspiration from The Body Keeps the Score. And I'm just going to share this. This is one little nugget from, I write all through my books. So this is kind of a synthesized bit from The Body Keeps the Score. And it's talking about how we have to learn how to live in the present and to be with what's happening in the present. And when I think about all of the things that little people have to deal with and learn, it's hard to imagine that we don't give them so much more training in stress management. And that's what the resilience program at AFIA seeks to do. But resilient learners and teachers reflect upon the past. So what just happened? Integrate the knowledge, which is really like seeing the patterns. Live in the present moment. So they're aware enough of what is happening in the here and now that they can be fully connected with it. That they can discern, so they can see the connections between ideas and people and make informed and smart choices that are good for themselves and those in their community. And they can imagine the possibilities, so they can think forward, they can anticipate the future, they can really think things through before they act. And so all of those things require a solid, grounded nervous system. And so it all, again, comes back to the brain. So again, I hope you're inspired by a little bit of what I've shared. I look forward to sharing some more tomorrow. I love Integrate Network. I think it's just so good. We all need to be doing ongoing self-study and self-care and sharing our ideas with each other. So many blessings to you on your journey, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.